Hi, I'm Mark McManus.
And I'm Forleo from Billings Chi-To-Do, and we're going to go over today some fast or adrenal stress training, fear adrenal stress training, fast methodology, and how to apply it to knife defense, just basic knife defense that we teach in a combative system, whether it be in our Chi-To-Do style or influences from other styles that we've come across.
One of the things that we've discovered over the years is many times a lot of the martial arts techniques in real life situations are ineffective because of the adrenalizing effect, where your fine motor skills go out the door and you have to rely on gross motor skills and also being in an adrenalized state. So we're going to work with those techniques today and those principles that have to do with adrenalization, training the lower brain, and how to do that effectively.
We're going to use this soft shield and the fast three-step method to cover how to deal with, a simple, effective, how to deal with a knife.
For the sake of time, we're going to be demonstrating just a couple of angles. Obviously, an attack can come from any kind of angle, any direction, not just a pre-designed kata direction. They can come, especially with a street attack. That's why we use the clock drill that we do from all angles. But for time's sake, we're just going to be using two different types of attacks. In the first step, we want to use what's called a soft shield method. Now, this is a method where what we're doing is we're actually programming the lower brain, the primal brain rather, which is going to be activated during adrenalization, because the executive brain is not going to be in operation as we do this. So this is a method whereby we get this into the lower brain. So our first step is going to be slow, rhythmic motion.
And we're going to use a basic overhand right attack. This can be an attack this way, it can be an attack this way. The point is, it doesn't really matter how the attack comes out. We're going to start from here. You can take this anywhere. We'll work later a little bit on a different drill to work the different angles that the attack can come in, but just for the sake of example, we're going to just do a basic overhand right slash. So I step in, and it's slow and fluid. Pad represents my face.
The principle that we're using in Chi-To-Do is called the speed principle. In other terms, like Krav Maga, it's considered bursting the technique, and we'll elaborate on that a little more in a moment. You're actually doing two motions at the same time. You're breaking and attacking so that you're not in a defensive position. You're in a proactive position where you're breaking through. Slower.
All right. Okay. So we do that about 5 or 10 times. That's what we call our level 1, where it's slow and fluid, using the soft shield. The shield is moving with the hand, and the other hand, the blocking hand, if you want to call it that, is just going up as a fence to guard against the forearm of that knife attack. Now, in that clock drill, you might wonder why is he only attacking him, kind of slow. He's not really jamming that knife in there. It's a drill. The drill is to create muscle memory, to be able to learn, to flow, and to get to the point where then you can go faster. When we put on the gear in just a moment, we can then go faster, and I can come at him with harder attacks, and he still does the same movements. So we have to build the muscle memory first, and we do that with the slow and fluid, and then the slow and explosive methods with the pad, before we then go full speed with the Shocknife or without the Shocknife and the Gladiator armor. In our level 2, what we do is then we add the Shocknife. You might have seen the Shocknife before. The Shocknife just adds a little bit of pucker factor to the training, and that when this thing, when it's activated, it adds a little bit of adrenaline to the drill. Now in our level 2, we're not going to activate the shock knife. We're just going to use the shock knife the same way that we used the knife before, but in the level 2, he's actually going to hit the pad hard this time instead of just pushing through it.
Notice we're starting slow with an explosion at the end. Be This is about training the lower brain. This is all we're doing right now is programming the brain to be prepared for the adrenalized state. What happens when you get adrenalized is your moves tend to shorten and speed up. That's why we don't train with a scenario where you're doing quick tappy tap moves, because they're going to shorten up under adrenalization.
Then we move on to level 3. In level 3, I'm going to put on a little bit more protective equipment, because as the attack comes in, I'm going to activate the shock knife, and he's actually going to hit me. Except I'm going to use my gladiator armor. Thank you to Bill Kipp and Dick Chance and to Lyle for creating the gladiator armor. You guys are awesome. And we're going to put it on, and we're going to show you how we do this without the pad and now actually hitting a protected target. We can add things like the groin kick or knees or eye gouges or palms, whatever it is with that armor. There's a lot more strikes that you can do. Even with this, there's a lot more that you could do. You could practice the front kick. You could practice the eye gouge instead of the heel palm. There's lots of ways that you can modify the drill and then come at the person from different angles.
One thing that's critically important, especially with, a tool is a tool is a tool, whether it be a gun, a bat, an edged weapon. However, the key is that you're not caught into this defensive mindset. So what you're going to see is when he comes into this zone where it's aggressive, it's on, we're not going to be trying to just defend against the knife. We're going in, we're being proactive, and we're going to neutralize the threat. So now what we're going to do in this scenario, we're going to go with the gladiator uniform, and again we're going to do 3 levels. We're going to start slow, then we're going to begin slower with a burst at the end, then we're going to go full tilt. This is not like a kata. This is not just a dance. What we're doing is programming the lower brain. It's that rhythmic, methodic, soft pad principle that we're utilizing. That's why we're doing this the way we are. But when we go full out, it's on. It's locked in and ready to go. So, here we go. Boom. 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 Another misconception is, or a misunderstanding is, that when you're adrenalized, when you're in a fight and you actually injure somebody, it doesn't happen that quick as far as having to roll your moves. You have time. When you injure somebody and you've made an impact hit which creates some damage, you have that time to move in and pick your target and hit it hard. So thank you for letting us demonstrate. And that's a shock knife example.